spacecraft. And this is a real-life, actual spacesuit. If we look here on the astronaut's arm, can you see there's a little mirror on a piece of elastic? They use it so they can see the controls on the front of the spacesuit, because as soon as they put the helmet on, they can't look downwards, so they need the mirror to be able to see. Now, because there's no air in space and we need air to breathe, the spacesuit will hold tanks of oxygen. And oxygen is in the air that we breathe, and it will flow into the suit so the astronaut can breathe easily. The material is really thick and very strong, but that's because it's made up of 14 layers of different materials. This shows us all 14 different layers, and can you see they sit on top of each other a little bit like a sandwich. And this here has a tube running through it, and cold water runs through that tube, so when it sits against an astronaut's skin, it helps to keep them cool. This layer here is made of a material called ripstop, and it stops the astronaut suit from ripping. The next 7 layers are made of this silver, shiny material called mylar, and that traps heat inside the suit. And then this last layer here is really strong. It's fireproof and waterproof, so it's a little bit like astronaut armour. How brilliant is that? It can be very cold out in space, so I'm going to show you just how the mylar material helps keep an astronaut warm. Let's set this up just here. This is my special thermal imaging camera, and it shows me how hot or cold things are using different colours. Can you see, at the moment, my body is an orangey red colour, and that's because my body heat is escaping to the outside through my thin cotton clothes. So if an astronaut wore thin clothes like this in space, all of their body heat would escape and they would get very cold very quickly. So what do you think is going to happen when I wrap this big sheet of mylar around me? Let's find out. Look, the thermal camera is showing the outside of the mylar as a bluey purpley colour. What the mylar is doing is it's trapping my body heat inside and stopping it from escaping to the outside world. If I open the mylar up, you can see my body is still nice and warm, and that's why an astronaut spacesuit has 7 layers of mylar inside it to stop the astronaut getting cold. This is a copy of a suit that an astronaut wears for launch and landing. That's when they leave for space and come back again. And I've got special permission to try it on. The launch suit has attachments on the front for air and electricity, a zip shaped like a V, and a sealed helmet to protect the astronaut. Ta-da! How do I look? And I even get to try on a real space glove. The amazing thing about an astronaut's gloves is that they are made to fit each astronaut perfectly. And that means they can still wiggle their fingers so they can flick switches and press the buttons needed to launch a spacecraft. The spacesuits are quite bendy too, thanks to these lines on the knees and elbows called pleats. It's extra important for the astronauts to be able to bend their knees and their arms in this suit, because during launch and landing, they have to sit in this position for up to 6 hours. Oh, maybe I could be an astronaut one day too. I loved seeing how spacesuits are made. What was your favourite bit? Do you remember what you call people who travel and work in space? That's right, they're called astronauts. Did you hear the sound the mylar material made when I wrapped it around me?
It was a rustling sound. And did you see how the mylar stopped my body heat escaping on my special...
Safely? That's right, it was wrapped in this. This shorthand here points to the hours, so it's called the hour hand. And this long hand here points to the minutes. It's the minute hand. And then this long, thin hand counts the seconds. It's called the seconds hand. And as the clock ticks, the seconds hand moves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear it ticking? As time passes, the hands move around the clock face, pointing to the numbers, so we can tell what time it is.
It's easy to see the red seconds hand moving, but to see the hours and minutes, we have to look for a long time. So I've bought a special camera to help. It can film a time-lapse, which means it records for a long time, but when we watch it back, we see the action happening really quickly.
Right, the camera is in place. Let me check what time it is now. The short hand is pointing to number 2, and the long hand is pointing to number 12. So the time is... That's right, it's 2 o'clock. And we're going to leave my camera filming for 1 whole hour. So what do you think's going to happen? Let's find out.
All I can do is wait.
Here we are, 1 hour later, and now it's 3 o'clock. So I've stopped recording, and let's play this back and find out what happened to the hands.
Remember, we're seeing the clock hands move much faster now. The red seconds hand moves the fastest. The long black minute hand moves more slowly. And the short black hour hand moves slowest of all, from 2 to 3.
It's great to see the hands moving fast like that, isn't it? But how do the hands move around the clock face at the right speed? Well, the answer is here, inside this little box. It's called the mechanism. But to find out how the mechanism works, I think we need to take a closer look.
All clocks need power to work. Most clocks are powered by batteries. The battery sends a small electric current through a circuit board. The circuit board makes a tiny crystal called a quartz vibrate. A microchip, which is like a tiny computer, counts the vibrations and turns them into electric pulses of exactly 1 pulse every second. The pulse then powers a tiny motor, which makes wheels called gears turn around and around. There is 1 gear for the seconds hand, a gear for the minute hand, and a gear for the hour hand. The gears are attached to a shaft that goes through the middle of the clock face and spins the hands around the clock at exactly the right speed, so we can look at the hands and see what time it is. Now, shall we have a look inside the mechanism of a real clock?
Wow, the parts inside this mechanism are really, really small. I've got my special camera with me, so we can take a closer look.
The lens on my special camera works like a magnifying glass, so you can see the tiny parts inside.
The microchip is this part here. And then the motor is this bit, the part with a copper wire wrapped around it. And it's the motor that makes the gears go round. Can you see? The gears, they have little grooves around the edge. Well, those grooves are called teeth. And those teeth lock together like this, so that when one gear goes round, the other one will turn at the same time. And there is a gear for each of the hands. 1, 2, 3.
Now we know how it works, Let's go and see a mechanism being fitted to a face to make a finished clock.
And there we have it, a lovely blue clock. Let's put a battery inside it and see what happens. Wow, it's working. You can see the seconds hand moving around. Tick, tock, tick, tock. So now we can tell what time it is. I loved seeing how clocks work. What was your favourite part?
Do you remember the name of the round wheels that turned the clock hands? That's right, they're called gears. Did you hear the sound the seconds hand made as it went around the clock face? And did you see how the hands moved at different speeds on my special camera?
So the next time you see a clock, you'll know exactly how it works. Ooh, I think I'm getting hungry. That's because it's nearly dinner time. Before we sit down to eat dinner, we need to set the table. A knife, a fork, and a spoon. And all together, these are called cutlery. But do you know how cutlery's made?
Safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this bubble. At the top of every wind turbine, there are 3 giant propeller blades. 1, 2, 3. They look like the propeller blades you might see on a plane, don't they? And they make a great swishing sound as they swish through the air.
The blades have a special curved shape, which helps the wind move the blades round and round.
Now, if you look closely at the middle, the part where all the blades are attached, can you see that circle shape? It's called the spinner because it spins around when the blades move. And the spinner is attached to the main body part called the nacelle.
The nacelle can turn so that the blades are always facing the way the wind is blowing. Let me show you with this little windmill.
When I face the windmill in the direction of the wind, it spins really fast. But when I turn it away from the wind, it stops. If I turn it to face the wind again, look, there it goes. That's because the wind is catching the blades and that's making them turn around. And exactly the same thing is happening all the way up there. But how do the wind turbines make electricity from the wind? To find out, I think we need to take a closer look.
At the top of the wind turbine is something called a yaw system. The yaw system tells the blades which direction to face to catch the most wind. As the wind blows, the blades turn around. The blades are connected to big rings of magnets. And as the blades turn, they turn the rings of magnets around coils of copper wire. The turning makes energy in the copper wire, and this energy is called an electric current or electricity, and this is measured in volts. The stronger the electricity is, the more volts it has. The electricity travels through cables inside the tower to a machine called a transformer. It changes the weaker volts of electricity to stronger volts so that it can go further. The electricity travels to 2 different substations, which make it even stronger. Then it's sent along cables on pylons and delivered to our houses for us to use.
How clever is that? We can make electricity from wind. I wonder what it looks like from all the way at the top of a wind turbine. Shall we find out? Andrew is a service technician, and Andrew's specially trained to go all the way to the top. Now, I'm going to give Andrew one of my special cameras, and I've also put one on his hard hat, and then we can watch everything that's going on inside the wind turbine on this screen just here. Andrew, over to you. This is so exciting.
Before Andrew can go up, the turbine has to be turned off.
From the ground to the top of the turbine, it's 90 metres.
That's almost as tall as Big Ben.
Wow! The tower is so tall, Andrew has to go up in a lift. There he goes, and it's a long way up. It will take about 5 minutes for Andrew to get to the top. It is so high up there. Oh, I think Andrew's reached the top. Did you see that? Oh, Andrew's waving. Wow! And can you see all of those wind turbines in the distance? We can see for miles and miles, can't we?
Now Andrew is safely clipping his harness so that he can look at the blades.
And they're 55 metres long. The view up there is absolutely incredible. What an amazing job Andrew has.
Now Andrew's back inside. Look, there's the generator. It has the magnets and copper wires inside that make the electricity.
The electricity travels underground through the cables and it arrives here at the substation. And this is where the electricity from all of the wind turbines is collected.
It's then sent through overhead cables attached to these huge metal towers, called pylons.
Can you see the cables? The pylons go for hundreds and hundreds of miles all over the country, delivering electricity to our homes, buildings and shops, ready for us to use. I loved seeing how electricity is made from the wind. What was your favourite bit?
Do you remember what the part is called that the blades are attached to? That's right, it's the spinner. Did you hear the sound the wind turbines made? And did you see how high Andrew was when he reached the top of the turbine?
Arrived safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this.
Quieter.
Now it sounds really quiet.
But the biggest part of a television is this rectangle here. Do you know what it's called? It's called the screen. And when the television is turned off, the screen goes black. And when the television is turned on, the picture appears so we can watch a programme. But how do the colours and pictures appear on the screen? I think we need to take a closer look.
The screens on mobile phones, tablets and televisions are made up of thousands of tiny squares called pixels. Under a magnifying glass, one tiny pixel is a square block filled with colour. But if we zoom into the pixel closer than we can see with our eyes or a magnifying glass, each pixel is made from 3 different coloured lights called subpixels. The lights are red, green and blue. When all 3 lights are turned right down, the pixel will be black. When all 3 lights are at full brightness, the pixel will be white. When the 3 lights are turned up or down to different levels, across the whole screen, we see millions of different colours. And all the tiny pixels together, filled with different colours, make the pictures we see on our screens.
You should never sit too close or try to see the television pixels yourself, so I've got my special microscopic camera to look closely for us. The microscopic camera can see really tiny things and make them look much bigger. Let's use it to see if we can see the lights that make up a pixel on a television screen. But first, I'm going to pause the picture so that it stops moving. Now, let's put my microscopic camera on this white area just here and have a look at what we can see. Wow, look at that. We can see lots and lots of sets of coloured stripes. They are red, green and blue.
These are the subpixels.
And each set of those stripes makes up 1 pixel on the TV screen. Now, because these lights here are turned up to full brightness, our eyes see those pixels as the colour white. So now if I move the microscope to this black area of colour here, now the microscope can't see anything at all. That's because the lights in these pixels, the red, green and blue lights, have been turned right down. So the microscope can't see the pixels, but our eyes see that colour as black. If I try putting the microscope camera on this purpley colour there, look! Now we can see a lot of blue light and a little bit of red light. That's because blue and red make purple. And if I try to put the microscope on this orange area here, the microscope can see lots of red and a little bit of green light, and our eyes see that as orange. Now I want to try something. I'm going to press play so the pictures start moving again. And if the pictures are moving, the colours will change, so the lights in the pixels should change too. Let's give it a go. There they went. Now we've got green lights, blue lights. Green and blue, multicoloured. The lights in the pixels are changing as the pictures move so that we can see millions of different shades of colour. When we watch a television screen, the pixels are much further away, and we see those pixels as different colours, and those colours make up the pictures on the television screen. I loved finding out how the pictures on televisions and other screens work, did you? What was your favourite part?
Do you remember what the red, green and blue lights are called that make up the different colours on our screens? That's right, they're called subpixels. Did you hear the sound from the television get quieter and quieter as I turned the volume right down? And did you see...
Safely? That's right, it was wrapped in this.
Wow! This is the cockpit, and all of these buttons, dials and lights, they're the instruments that help the pilot to fly the plane. There are so many of them, aren't there? This is so exciting. I'm sat in the captain's seat. These levers here are called the thrust levers, and they make the plane go faster or slower. And this here is called the side stick. This turns the plane left or right, up or down. And if the pilot needs to move the plane when it's on the ground or stop it, he'll use these foot pedals down here. It all looks really complicated, doesn't it? To find out how an aeroplane takes off and lands, I think we need a closer look.
When the aeroplane is ready to take off, the pilot pushes the thrust levers forward, making the engines speed up. The aeroplane travels faster and faster along the runway. The wings have a special curved shape called an aerofoil. The air that flows over the top of the wing moves faster than the air which moves underneath the wing. And this creates a force called lift. The lift helps the aeroplane up and off the ground. To land the aeroplane, the pilot pushes the side stick forward, which tilts the elevator on the back of the aeroplane down. This makes the nose of the plane point downwards. The pilot moves the thrust levers back. This slows down the engines. Flaps on the wings are then flicked up to slow down the air that's flowing over the wings. The wheels are put into position, and when the plane lands on the runway, the pilot presses the brakes and the plane comes to a stop.
This is where pilots come to practice flying aeroplanes. But can you see any aeroplanes? Pilots learn to fly in these pods called flight simulators.
They look just like the cockpits on real planes, but these ones are just for practice.
Now this is the really fun part. I get to join Bridget, a pilot, and watch her practice a takeoff and landing.
The windows are actually video screens to show us what flying a plane would look like in real life.
Okay, Bridget, we're ready for takeoff. The first thing Bridget does is push the thrust levers forward, and that powers the engines, which make the plane move forward and get faster and faster. Here we go. You can hear the engines. We're getting faster and faster, and when the time is right, Bridget pulls back on the side stick, and that lifts the nose of the plane into the air. And here we go. We're taking off into the air. It feels like we're actually flying. I'm wearing my special head camera so you can see what the pilot sees when they're landing a plane. Wow, we are so high up. When the plane is in the sky, Bridget uses the side stick to turn the plane to the left or to the right, up or down. But right now, we're getting ready to land. Here we go. Bridget gently pushes the side stick forward to make the elevator at the back of the plane tilt down, which makes the nose of the plane dip down. The houses on the ground are getting bigger and bigger, which means the plane is getting lower and lower to the ground. Ooh. We're getting closer. Now Bridget is pulling the thrust lever backwards, and that will slow the power to the engines, which slows the plane down. And then Bridget uses the foot pedals that will brake and slow down the plane on the ground. And we've landed. That was brilliant. I loved seeing how an aeroplane takes off and lands. What was your favourite bit about finding out how an aeroplane works?
Do you remember what the lever was called that steers the aeroplane? That's right, it's called a side stick. Did you hear the sound in the simulator when the engine started to speed up? And did you see all those buttons and levers in the aeroplane cockpit?
Aeroplanes are really good at moving us between places that are far apart. But when we only need to go short distances, we can walk, or sometimes we might run. Do you know what we have to wear when we go on a walk or a run outdoors?
Safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this